Hello,
Hi,
girls.
Hot Talk. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hello, everyone. If you are joining us, welcome.
Welcome, everyone, to Hot Talk to You. Hello, Nin. Hello, Helena.
Hi,
Hi,
Vicky.
Vicky.
Hi,
Hi,
Nin.
Helena.
Over to you,
How are
Nin.
you? Okay.
Good.
Okay, we're going to get started now. And hi, I'm Nin, and welcome to the Hot Talk to You family. Welcome to the Three Souls Awakening series tonight. Tonight is the start of a 12-week Facebook live chat series with Helena, Vicky, and myself. So we will be opening our hearts and sharing our personal awakening journeys with you all. Our hope is to bring this experience to light and support you in your own awakening journey. Today is our first ever live chat episodes where our resident pioneer, Helena O, is leading the way. Thanks, Helena.
All right. Thank you, Vicky, and thank you, Nin, for the intro. Look, before I start, if you do have any comments or if you have any questions, please put it into the chat box or the comment box, and I'll try and answer those questions for you after my sharing. Okay, my story. Okay. So how exciting. I hope you're all excited because I'm excited. It's all about, sharing. Now, some of you will know me from Innovate, others through pharmacy, and many I've met along the way. Nevertheless, you are all in my heart, and I'm grateful to have met all of you. Now, for the last 8 years, I have been busy, teaching kids how to calculate mentally and be able to process information quickly through our brain stimulation programs. A career change that has impacted many children and parents and inspired some people to take the same journey. Now, prior to the education career, I spent 14 years working as a pharmacist, a career that taught me many skills to, prepare for what was to come. Now, let me share with you. Obviously, I was a CEO. I'm currently the CEO of Innovate Education and specialist in mind stimulation. I did, go into sort of before the education business, I was in retail and have been sort of working as a pharmacist for many years. Now, I spent 14 years working as a pharmacist, a career that taught me many skills to prepare me for the change. Now, let's talk a little bit about my family. So before I go into my journey, I'd just like to share a little bit about my family. I'm very, sort of very blessed to have, my soulmate who has, my soulmate, my partner, and my two beautiful daughters who have all been an inspiration and support for everything that I have achieved so far. This is a picture of the family taken in December 2021. So the girls are now 16 and 18 in front of a houseboat on the Hawkesbury River. So every year we, ever since the kids were small, we would take them, we'll spend some time with friends or just the family houseboating and relaxing and just celebrating, moments together. Now, this year we go again in December, and it's pretty much become a ritual for us. And that's how we like to spend family time. Now, many people have wondered, sort of why I made a career change. Well, let me share with you my journey. So I was born in Cambodia and grew up in during the Pol Pot regime. I guess I was only young, so I don't really remember much of what happened, but I do remember some parts of the journey. So we lost our father sort of back in 1978, and then we had to escape Cambodia, obviously, on foot through landmines and crossing rivers to Thailand. Now, that picture on the left there is a picture taken in 1979 in the refugee camp in Thailand. Obviously, on this journey, at the time there was only 5 of us, but Mum was actually pregnant with my youngest brother, and through the through all of this, she managed to sort of hold on to the pregnancy and gave birth to my younger brother in Thailand. So, and the picture on the right there is of my mum. Obviously, she's 84 years old now, but I guess what I do want to say is I want to sort of pay respect, love, and gratitude to my aunties and uncles who came with us on the journey. But most of all, it's to my mother, because if it wasn't for her love, her, sort of her resilience, and everything that obviously just to keep us alive in order to get us to where we are today. So I, sort of send her my love there. And so in 1979, we were sponsored by the churches as refugees, and that's how we actually came to Australia. So, all in all, that's a little bit of a history as how we got to Australia. So after that, obviously without a word of English, I started second grade in Chester Hill Public School. This was the start of my education journey. No English, not one single word of ABC or anything. So we had to start fresh. So that picture on the left there is in 1980, where it was the first time I've met, white people and started to learn, sort of English. I don't know whether you can pick me out in the picture, but I'm the one on the left in that red dress, short hair, red dress. Not so cute, but cute enough. So then I guess from there, I went to primary school and then high school and did university and graduated from Sydney Uni with a pharmacy degree. Now, was I proud of myself? Of course I was. But more importantly, not was I just proud of myself, but I made everybody else proud, especially my family, because I'm the, sort of the first in the family, sort of generation to even get a degree. And so it was a big achievement, not just for me, but the family overall. And I made the family proud. So it was good. It was an achievement. Now, after this, I basically worked in a few pharmacies over a period of about 14 years. And the first pharmacy that I worked in, I stayed for 12 years. And this is, okay, that's a group of, the people that I worked with. And, why did I stay for 12 years? Because obviously I was in a good working environment. I had great staff. And obviously, the clients that I was working with was really good and definitely a great boss. That's what I could say. But it was also here where I started my awakening journey. So over sort of, so the story is, because I get questions asked, okay, so what happened and all that? Well, what happened was one quiet afternoon, obviously they chose a good time. I was working at the counter and a man in sort of a balaclava came in and pointed a gun in front of my face. And he handed me a bag. And, basically he said, put all the money in here. Well, guess what happened to the bag? It actually fell and dropped right in front of me to the floor. Why? Because I basically had frozen and went into shock. And you know what? The guy just obviously looked at me and realized that, I'm not going to move. and nothing's, he's not going to get any money out of me when I'm actually frozen in that state, in that state. So he had to come around the counter and, come around, pick up the bag, and then sort of had to open the till himself and grab the whole tray of money and put it into the bag, and then just ran out of the shop. Now, this was probably one of the longest 10 seconds in my life. So for 2 days, I was in shock, and, tears just bucketed out of me. I don't know where it came from, but it just did. Now, that was when my life actually flashed in front of me. And I basically had to, I started asking questions about, sort of about myself, and, because obviously my life could have ended at that moment. And so I started to ask questions, and questions like, am I working towards my dream? What is my dream? Am I living my life based on society and culture? Am I truly happy? What is happiness? Am I doing, what I should be doing? Or am I just listening, to what people are saying? So I guess, sort of ever since that moment, every decision I made was based on a choice between listening to the head or the heart. Now, the head is all about logic and reasoning, whereas the heart was to follow my intuition or gut feeling. We all want happiness, and that only comes from within, right? So as we all start to question, ourselves, we open up space for more learning and guidance from our, higher self, or some people will refer it to as source, or infinite intelligence, or God. So I believe we are all here for a reason, and we have a purpose to fulfill. Hence, I give thanks to be able to be a part of, Heart Talk, and to be able to, inspire change in the people who come into this community. Thank you for listening and, being on this journey with me and with us. And I just hope that we can be an inspiration. We can offer wisdom and, sort of help you guys along. So this is, a little bit about my story. And I guess that's all I have to say for tonight. So, yeah. So I'm ready to answer questions if you have questions.
Nina, I think you are muted. Thank you, Helena, for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Really appreciate that you open your heart to share that with us. Up to you, for you, Nin.
Yes, Helena, thanks for sharing your awakening journey and the moment that changed your life. We call it the awakening moment. And I think now that you look back on it, you realize that it is an awakening moment that defined your life. But when you were going through the shock of the hold up, and then the days afterwards and the weeks afterwards, did you realize that it was an awakening moment at all at that time?
I guess at the time, it was all a shock, but whether it was an awakening moment, I think it was. But did I realize it? Maybe I never realized it as an awakening moment. But it was an incident that basically changed the way I thought, the way I would decide about, about things, and the way that I would therefore action from that moment onwards would be based on, my life, because when you go through situations like that, you think about, my life could have just ended right there and then. So have I done enough in this life? Is there more to life than what I'm seeing? And, I actually had a good life. It's not that I didn't. I had everything, right? I had an education, I had a great family, And I did what was actually right in the eyes of society and the eyes of my family. So what, why, but obviously things happen, and changes happen and they follow through. So was it an ideal situation to have? No, but looking back, it actually, it allowed me to take a different journey as to what I feel was, right, and what was good inside, which is, I guess, for a lot of people that would say it's a thing that actually make them happy. So, yeah, and then, and everything else that has actually happened after that has actually been, it might not have, like the decisions that I made may not have made everybody else happy, but it made me happy.
Awesome.
So the journey up until now has all been decisions made based on love and based on like inspiration and what I felt was right. What I felt inside was actually right, and it wasn't about making other people happy. It wasn't about other people's expectations, because there were lots of expectations,
Hey,
from family
Helena.
and society and culture. Yeah.
So I guess that it takes a lot of courage to go against people's expectations, family expectations, colleagues' expectations about the decisions that you make, because obviously not everybody can see your heart and follow your intuition. So that takes a bit of courage to actually go with your heart and not with what everybody is expecting from you, right?
Definitely. I mean, sometimes we do have to step out of our comfort zone, and we do have to do things that, that may not be the status quo, right? And, it's easy to follow society, and it's very easy to follow, culture, based on everything that we have, what we understood and what we have done in the past. It is very easy to just go with that flow. But, is taking that path, is that going to make you happy? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. And sometimes, yes, it's not easy, and it does take a lot of courage and a lot of strength to even step out of that comfort zone and step out of that circle of, of comfort, because we feel like we are a part of society. We are a part of, the whole culture thing. But are we supposed to follow culture? Are we supposed to follow what everyone else is doing? Are we supposed to be like everybody else? I don't think so, because we are, and again, I will say, I believe that we are put on this earth for a reason. And why do you think we're all very unique? There's only one of me, there's only one of you, Vicky, and there's only one of you, Nin. Yes. And there's only one of everybody else that is listening. Everyone is so unique. We actually have, our DNAs are very different. So why do we have to be like someone else? Why do we have to act like someone else? Why do we have to be a part of the culture? Right? The only reason why we're part of the culture is because we feel that's all we know, and so yes, definitely, it does take a lot of courage, and it does take a lot of understanding and sorry.
Determination.
Yeah.
Well,
totally agree.
that was really, really relatable. Definitely, I think anyone that has gone through an awakening or is going through an awakening process or moment or journey definitely have those questions to ask, and it definitely opens your eyes to what else is there? What else is there out there for us? Now, we do have a question from one of our viewers, Melita Rodriguez. Thank you, Melita, for interacting and asking Helena a question. So Melita asks, what do you do now that makes you happy?
I now run an education center, which which basically is a different type of learning system to the traditional education system. So, we're based on teaching skills, right? And creating creating a different way of learning for these children, because these kids should be taught skills so that they can live life, so that they can become a better learner, so that they know how to process all these information that's coming to them at a very fast speed. Now, at school, they're taught they're taught information, but they're not really taught how to learn, right? So our goal is not just to sort of teach kids how to learn, but also to provide sort of brain stimulation, because we're now tapping into the right brain, and it's all about visualization, creativity, and we're creating kids that are holistic. Holistic. It's holistic learning, but at the same time creating well-balanced children, well-rounded children. Now, what makes me happy is seeing these kids flourish and seeing these kids love learning. And not only are we just giving them skills, but we're providing an environment that is helping them flourish, sort of loving what they're doing, and being able to impact these kids and being able to see the parents being very happy, to see these kids excel, not just academically, but also, socially and emotionally. It's great, and for the parents to come and say, look, you've done a great job with the kids, excelling them, not just academically, but they've become more confident. They're more happier. It's makes my heart sing. And then to be able to also guide, some of the people who are also doing what we're doing. So we've got licensees who also run, sort of Innovate, and they're doing the same thing. They're impacting, parents and children. And so that's what makes me happy right now. And I'm blessed and grateful for the opportunity to, sort of be able to run the Innovate program, which comes from Malaysia. So I give gratitude and thanks to the founder, Helena Tiang. So yeah, thanks for asking, Melita.
And make
say,
sure that you guys like us on Facebook. Give us some likes and some hearts, and any comments you want to make. Any questions for Helena? Back to you.
I guess let me. There's something that I do want to share, because one of the biggest thing was, people were sort of questioned. The biggest question was, why did you change careers when pharmacy is like, you're in a great profession, not to say that not that I don't love pharmacy. I loved, sort of working with people and helping people, but it just didn't become sort of what I thought was passionate for me. So the helping and the caring was there, but sort of the way pharmacy worked was not sort of what I thought. And as the longer I worked in pharmacy, the more unhappy I was. So therefore, the change in career, and because I guess I have always been a teacher at heart, and so being able to sort of impact children through education was what I was meant to do. And I have that, like every day I can go to work and feel happy about turning up to work. Whereas at one stage, I got to a point. Sorry,
and it doesn't even feel like work.
And it doesn't feel like work, because I'm there, I'm seeing the kids, and I'm meeting the parents, and the parents, have all, are coming to me with questions about their children and how to help their children. I'm happy to share, based on what I know and based on my experience. So it's as I said, again, it's all about passion, right? So whatever you love to do, you will do it without questioning, and you would do it without even thinking whether it was going to, take a lot out of you. It's because you're in that, loving environment and happiness. It's not hard work. It's not hard work at all.
And I will ask that question, Melita's question, a little bit differently, just for the viewers to tune in. So when you had the hold up and that awakening moment, and then you started to question, why are we here? What are we doing? Am I happy? Am I truly happy? Yes, so you decided to leave pharmacy, but what else? Like, what little things, personal things that you did to make yourself happy?
Well, I mean, I guess other things were based on, okay, so for example, even there were expectations, right? There were expectations as a pharmacist. There were expectations of me sort of marrying a doctor or another pharmacist or a lawyer, because, these were the top careers at the time. But obviously, unless there is chemistry, love is not going to happen, or so I think anyway. But I chose to sort of marry who I loved rather than who I should be marrying. These are things that would impact us. Obviously, some people might say, oh well, of course you would marry for love, but there are lots of people who would marry for status and who would marry for profession and marry due to expectations. So that's just an example. What other things? Little other things were travel, and it was all, for me, it was about experiences. And I would travel despite having to wait. I'm not going to wait until a certain time. Like if I feel that I need to travel, I will travel now. And a lot of the times it was actually spur of the moment things. Sometimes you plan, that we plan a lot of things, but things come up, and then it's like, no, you've got to do it now, or no, okay, opportunity is here, we need to take it and just go. So a lot of the decisions was all based on intuition and how I felt. It was all about it was all from here. It was all like, okay, do I feel good about my decisions?
Mm-hmm.
If I felt good, that's what I would do. But obviously there's always going to be the head that will be telling you, no, you shouldn't be doing this. Who are you to do this? All right. Are you worthy of this? So you're a female. How could, you're not going to succeed. Like all these things would always come up in our mind, So there are even decisions on, business and business decision. It's like a lot of the times there's going to be voices, telling me, oh, you're a female. Why, who do you think you are? And because we do have, emotions and trapped emotions that play a part in what we do and how we think and all that. So it's all about doing what is right in here and things that will make you happy.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
I think so. It was fantastic.
As you can tell, I love to ask questions. I like to dive deeper into the details. I'm a very detail-oriented person. So, another question from me, Helena, is as you were going through the shock and the awakening, and I believe that the awakening would have gone on for some time after that incident, which we'll go into a little bit late in our later episodes. But did you find that you had support, from your family and your friends or professionals to help you get through that period?
To be honest with you, I was offered counselling, but I didn't take up on it, only because sort of after 3 days being at home and crying and bawling my eyes out, I had all these things going through my mind, and then I just thought, you know what, I need to continue living life. I'm not going to stay in this state because I need to continue with life and I need to do what I need to do. And so, yeah, I got out of it, but with a fresh start, you see. Did people understand? No. Because the thing is, I couldn't tell people. I mean, obviously I could have sought help and counseling, but I guess, I was strong enough to understand that, okay, it's happened. I've reflected and now I know what I need to do, so I never got into a depressive state or anxiety, and it never sort of held me down. I continued working. Actually, I went back to work after 2 or 3 days and then went on with life. But I can tell you decisions made from that point was very different from what, from what I would have made before. Because now it was about how I felt. It was all about, love, consciousness. And it was all about, even though I actually didn't know it at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I trusted, I worked, a lot of my decisions were based on my intuition, and even with, sort of the change in career, that happened over a few months, but it was a change in career that, that surprised a lot of people and it shocked a lot of people, so lots of things have happened where people just don't understand why I would do it, why, you have, you're in a great position to, sort of marry whoever you want to marry, rich guys, and well, it's like it's not about the money. it's about love, right? And it's about the other person. And then, sort of, I had been looking to buy a pharmacy for many years prior to this, but it was like, why would I buy something that I don't even like doing for the money? No, right? So I didn't end up buying a pharmacy. And guess why? Because I wasn't meant to buy, I wasn't meant to be in pharmacy. It's meant to be in education,
yes,
right?
definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, so everything that's happened has taken a new path, but it's been a great path. I don't regret any moment of it. Yeah.
Right.
Vicky, do you have a question?
I just have a comment. I just think that awakening comes with pain and suffering a little bit, because unfortunately is the one of the ways that we awake. We're more awakened, and I think it is. It's not very easy. It's not pleasant, but sometimes I feel I'm grateful for those moments, because if it wasn't for that, I could be living a life that I don't really love. Do you think?
Yeah,
totally agree.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you both agree that having a awakening moment and a awakening journey actually contributed to you having a more happier life.
Yeah, definitely. Why? I mean, obviously, your choices will determine, right? And if you are working on choices that makes you happy, then of course you're going to have a happier life, rather than following, the status quo, following culture, or doing what other people, or thinking that, okay, the right path is to do what everybody else is doing.
Especially
or having what everybody else is having,
Having, yes.
Yeah.
So I do have one last question from me, and then over to you, Vicky. The question is so up until your life, up until that particular moment when you were held at gunpoint in the pharmacy, did you have any smaller awakening moments that would have led up to that moment at all?
I don't think so. I mean, well, I don't remember. And I would not have, I don't think I would have noticed if there was, right? Because I think, something traumatic has to happen for you to actually realize. Because
Yeah.
I guess it's got to be a time where you're going to lose your life. You know, a lot of the times people don't realize what's happening to them until they go through a situation that affects them. You know,
Yeah.
that could have hurt them. So, I don't think so, because I have pretty much had a pretty good upbringing and a pretty good childhood. And I have to say I've been very thankful for what I've my journey up until then. Not to say that, and then, I guess ever since then my journey has been, better. Better or not, I mean, it is part of life, but I've enjoyed the journey. It's been a good journey, so can't complain.
That's
Yeah. And guess what? The journey has led me to meet so many other people, other people that I have been able to inspire, brought on, along with me on the way. And here I am. Look, meeting you guys was the best thing that's ever happened, and then to do what we're doing, and then sharing, sort of our experiences and our wisdom, and creating a new community. I mean, who would have imagined that? And that. So we'll be forever grateful. So thank you, ladies.
Yes. Well, thank you too. And I just want to remind everyone that you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram. The intention of all this is to create a community of people that are awakening, people that are looking for something different. And there is, they're looking for a change as well in their life. So we welcome everyone that would like to join us and join this journey of, a new awakening. And I want to thank Nin and Helena for also giving me the opportunity to be part of this. And well, just keep watching, and we're gonna be every week on Wednesday at 8. So we would love to see you next week and the following weeks as well.
And I
So
would have
next
to
week
say
we'll
that,
have so next week we'll have Vicky sharing her story. So please join us. It is it's sharing our awakening journey, so that you don't feel, if you're in a situation where you think, okay, I do feel the same, and you're looking for sort of a community that will support you and help you, then this is where you should be. All right.
yeah. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And just want to add in there as well that this is a space for other awakening souls. So Vicky, Nin, and myself and Helena, we have gone through the awakening journey, and we've come out on the other side. And we've over the last year, we've been putting.
Oops. We've lost you.
Yeah, you muted yourself, Nin. Yeah.
Sorry. Where was I?
Start again.
Out of our comfort zone and stretching ourselves and putting this together. So we'll be here for the next 12 weeks and into the future to support all the other souls that are awakening as well. And come and join us on Facebook and Instagram.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you next